Hey guys, Waterfowler41 here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about traction boards and more specifically about how I'm going to mount those in the bed of my Raptor. So traction boards, in my opinion, are one of those things that you want to have on you and not necessarily need versus need and not necessarily have on you. And right now, up until a few months back, there wasn't really a good mounting solution for traction boards in the bed of your truck, and really any truck. All you do is just throw them in there, just kind of hope for the best. They're going to rattle around. It kind of sucks. But BuiltRight Industries came out with a kit that allows you to take those traction boards, mount them up against the front of your bed so they're up and out of the way, but if you ever need them, they're very easy to get to. So in the kit, you get a couple things. One, you get the brackets that allow you to mount this extruded rail to the side of the truck so that now you have an extruded rail to attach these new MountTech universal traction board brackets to. So very easy install. Tools are very simple. All you're going to need is a Torx T30 bit, as well as a drill or some sort of wrench that's extended so that you can get access to the bolts. And you'll see in a minute why you're going to need that extension on the drill to install these things. Also, I went ahead and picked up a pouch here. We're going to have a lot of mole gear for the truck here in the very near future. BuiltTech has a really good selection of these kits from big, small, all over the place. So these are going to be super helpful down the road. But with this video, we're going to be focusing on how we install traction boards on the front of the Raptors bed. So let's go ahead and hop up into the bed and I'll show you how to install everything. All right, so once you are in the bed of your truck, you're going to want to locate that front tie down point, and this is where we're going to use our Torx T30 bit, and we're going to remove this guy. Once we remove it, we're going to flip it around and then use that stock hardware to reinstall this bracket. And I'll show you how everything orients once I get that bracket off here, but let's go ahead and pop that guy off. All right, so once your factory tie down is removed, what you want to do then is locate the correct BuiltRight bracket here. So we know this is the correct one because that L faces to the front of the truck. That's the pocket essentially that the aluminum rail is going to sit in, and this is going to mount to the truck bed just like so. On the inside of that bracket, you're going to have the factory tie down, and you removed it with it pointing up. You're going to flip it 180 degrees, use the factory bolts, and this is going to install on the inside of this bracket to hold everything into place. So let's go ahead and get that installed, and then I'll show you how to set up that aluminum rail with the traction board panels, and then we'll get everything installed. It's very simple. This project should take you no more than 15-20 minutes. All right, once installed, this is what your bracket should look like. Like I said, the factory tie down does get reinstalled. It's just pointing down. Now you do retain, if not gain, some more tie down points, so you could tie down ratchet strap to the top here, but also you still have your factory one. So let's go ahead and do the passenger side. Then I'll show you how to set up that rail before we install it on here. So we'll get the we'll get the traction board panels installed onto the rail. It's easier to do it before you get installed, and then I'll show you how to attach that rail to this bracket. All right, so let's talk about hardware in the kit. We'll start with the first step and we'll go all the way to the end step here. So in order to mount your traction boards to the traction board brackets, we're going to use these 4 long bolts, these 4 washers, and these 4 nuts. So it's really simple. You flip the brackets over, you find the slotted portion that fits a hex head. So there's a top and a bottom one. You're gonna go ahead and slide your bolt in there. Then once we flip it over and we have 2 hands, we're gonna go ahead and throw the washer on there and then throw one of these nuts on there. There's a couple different measurements for marking for reference perspective, but these bolts are essentially what your board will pop onto. Once the boards are pushed onto the 4 bolts, once they're attached to these brackets, then you use these speed nuts here to install everything, and that's how you can get quick access on and off of the brackets with your boards. Then we want to mount the boards themselves to the aluminum rail, and we're going to do that using these a little bit longer hex head bolts with some washers that come in the kit, as well as these little spring-loaded T-nuts. So these spring-loaded T-nuts just pop right into the rail here, and you can see then all you do is just slide a washer on the bolt, slide it through the bracket like that, and then you tie everything down and just go ahead and tighten everything up with the included tool. Then once we have our traction board brackets installed on the rail, then we're going to use these T-nuts. We're going to pop those into the channel. These are ones that you can't push in forward. You have to slide them in from the end. And these T-nuts, as well as these corresponding bolts, are what we're going to use to mount this bracket or this bar to the front brackets. So let's go ahead and get these sized up for our traction boards. I'm going to mount the traction boards literally spot on in the middle, and then we'll mount the brackets to the aluminum rail, and then we'll get this guy thrown in. All right, so we have our long bolts for the traction boards already installed. They're just finger tight right now. I'll mess with them later in the end just to get them dead on center. Then I went ahead and slipped in those little speed T-nuts here into the rails, and now all I'm going to do is just basically line this guy up, make sure those T-nuts are in the right spot, and then we're going to drop one of these bolts with a washer on each side through. We'll use this guy and that guy to mount them, and then we're just basically going to make sure it's center. we'll size everything up for our board and then tighten everything down. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so quick stock take. We got our black oxide bolts through the washers into those little speed nuts here, and now we can slide everything around on the rails on both sides. So what I'm gonna do now is just take one of my boards, size it up for where I wanna mount it to. Let's just pull it over here real quick. I think what I'm gonna do is mount one side through this hole over here and then one side through that hole over there. That will give us the spacing we need between the brackets, and then I'll just move it up and down so everything's center, and then I'll go back in and tighten everything down. I'll probably start with tightening these down, and then I'll tighten these guys down just once everything is centered. So super easy to do, very intuitive. This is a very well designed kit. Just make sure you put it where you want it before you slide it up into the truck bed, because it's a lot easier to do it on your tailgate than it would be once it's in place. All right, so we got everything tightened down. I basically just put my traction boards on there, slid everything where I wanted to go, measured just to make sure I have the same distance on both sides, then pulled the traction board off carefully, tightened down the black oxide bolts first, and then I tightened these guys down. We are good to go. So now we can take the aluminum bar here and throw it up on the brackets that we installed in step 1. So we're going to use these T nuts as well as the other hex head black oxide screws. So these are going to slide right into the rail just like so. You're going to put 3 on both sides, and then we're going to use these bolts through the factory or through the brackets from BuiltRight, and then that's what's going to hold everything into place. Now you have to slide these T-nuts in before you put this bracket or this bar in place. You're not going to have the ability to slide them in once it is. All right, so we have our bar slid up into place here. It just sits right in that little elbow, and then we have our T-nuts lined up with the holes here. Here's the top T-nut. I just wanted to show you just for reference. But if they do get misaligned when you go to install them, you can go ahead and use that Allen head that comes in the kit. Just slide that bad boy right into place, and now it is good to go. So we're going to use these hex head bolts to attach everything, and then we are good to go. Bracket looks awesome, but let's get everything out in the daylight and we take a look at the final product once it is fully installed. All right, so here is the final product. Got some much better light on the situation now. So we got the BuiltRight brackets on the side. We have the aluminum extruded rail that goes all the way across. We have our Mount Tack traction board brackets mounted to that rail. And now we have a nice, easy solution for mounting our traction boards. Now the T-nuts are the speed nuts are super simple to undo. You just twist them. Now what you'll notice is they are slotted. So if you want, what you can do is drill a hole through these nuts here, and then you can put a lock through it if you so choose. But I also just went ahead and took that BuiltRight bag and mounted it off to the side there. I have a mesh bungee cord net that I use for cargo management in that bag, just so I have it there, up and out of the way. But again, like I said, this is probably one of the most slick solutions I've seen for traction boards in the bed of your truck. So now these are up out of the way. We have them always available if we need them, but also at the same time, they're not going to get tangled up with any other cargo. But with that said, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. Bye.